Here we go at Oakmont. Let's start with the course. What do we know about this course? How long is the rough, and does course history come into effect for you this week?
The U.S. Open has always been billed as the most difficult test of golf there is on the planet. And I tell you what, it's often labeled as the most difficult golf course in the world is Oakmont.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
We don't want you playing here. Can you move positions? Do something else. He starts the season like 0 for 150, it felt like, and finally finds himself in a groove at the plate, hitting 272. 15 home runs on the season? Now he's shipped to San Francisco.
What is management going to do? Nobody who's paying you $313.5 million is going to hear anything from you. They'll figure out a way to get rid of you, and that's exactly what they did.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say, yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to back 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out. This is NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Kaufman in for Craig Mish all week. Thrilled to have you with us for the next 60 minutes. We have got a great group of guests on the way. Tom Vecchio is going to join us in just a little bit to help us talk through some Major League Baseball. Adam Caplan on the NFL. We have Pat Evans, Legal Sports Report. And of course, the coach, James Young, will pop on to discuss not only the latest champion in the NBA, congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder, first-time champs in 17 years in OKC, but also a monumental day of Game 7 trade. Kevin Durant stays in the West, but goes from Phoenix to Houston. He is a Rocket now, reuniting with Ime Udoka. So we have a ton to cover, but of course nothing bigger than the NBA championship. On the heels of, as we know, the Florida Panthers winning back-to-back in the NHL. The winter sports are now done. The champs have been determined, with OKC really feeling validated, I would imagine. Sam Presti, of course, the general manager of that team, and the stockpiling of draft picks over the last decade plus in his nearly 2 decades with the organization, dating back to the time in Seattle, obviously, has built, rebuilt, retooled along the way, and everything finally comes to fruition with what was, including playoffs, an 84-win season for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and led by the man you're looking at on your screen, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is only the 4th player in NBA history to win all of these things in the same season. We're talking NBA Finals MVP, regular season MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, and oh, by the way, if that wasn't enough, the scoring champion as well. He joins, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, elite company, and he is in disbelief. This team, led by, of course, SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, so on and so forth, Mark Daignault, the head coach, a great group. SGA and Daignault, they are just, again, the key word is feeling validated.
So much stress relieved. Like, no matter what, like, you go into every night wanting to win, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And tonight could have been one of those nights, but we found a way. I'm so proud of this group. I wouldn't have rather done it with any other group in the world. It feels good to be a champion.
I'm just so happy for the guys. I mean, this is an uncommon team. This is a great team. You know, all the boxes that this team checked this season, it's a historic team. But there's no guarantee that you end it the way that we did. And so I just wanted it so bad for them. And I was just so thrilled that we were able to get that done. And they get to experience this because they deserve it. You know, the way they approach it, the professionalism, competitiveness, team first nature. Like I said, I wanted it so bad for them.
On the one side for Oklahoma City, jubilation. On the other for Indiana, what ifs that are going to follow that organization for years and years to come. That is because Tyrese Halliburton, the superstar of the Pacers, who got off to such a hot start to Game 7 with 9 points in only 7 minutes, went down writhing in pain. You could see watching the game the imagery of the calf popping, an Achilles injury, the third significant Achilles injury here in this postseason. Damian Lillard first to the Bucks, then Jason Tatum of the Celtics, and now Halliburton. In a game, the Pacers somehow found a way to stay composed, to stay locked in, to stay eye on the prize, even led this game by a point at halftime in OKC before a third quarter that was just debilitating. 8 turnovers in that quarter alone for the Pacers, leading to almost 20 points off of turnovers. The Thunder opened it up and essentially never looked back. Even still, that organization, Rick Carlisle, the head coach, Pascal Siakam, the other star on that team, just gutted by the Halliburton injury.
What happened with Tyrese is just all of our hearts dropped. But he will be back. I don't have any medical information about what may or may not have happened, but he'll be back in time, and I believe he'll make a full recovery. So he authored one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA.
I mean, I think that's amazing, and obviously, I think because of the way we do it, and you know, it's not the most popular way, and you know, in the NBA where, you know, it's all about stars, and you know, the team concept can get kind of put to the side, and you know, we kind of show that you can be a team, you know, and go out there and fight, and everyone play together, and you have an opportunity to win. Obviously, we didn't do it, we didn't finish it, and again, it's no more victory, like, but I can say that, you know, like, we are happy that, you know, there's some people that can look at us and be like, yeah, we like team, and we hope that can set a trend for you know, the days coming forward, and again, yeah, shout out China.
We are very much in the parity era of the NBA. This is 9 different championships in a dozen years since Adam Silver became commissioner. Just to contrast that, David Stearns, 30 years, 3 decades, and yet we saw only 8 champions. Just consider that for a moment. Who will it be next year? Maybe the Houston Rockets. Kevin Durant, again, is now a member of the Rockets. He was actually traded in the middle of the Fanatics Fan Fest yesterday and took interviews on the spot. You look at the breaking news from Shams Charania from ESPN, that tweet on your screen, and the details. Again, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, 2 starters for that Houston team previously going to Phoenix. The number 10 pick in the upcoming draft on Wednesday. 5 future second rounders. A haul for a 37-year-old who is still admittedly one of the best players in the NBA. We are going to discuss that a little bit later on with Coach James Young, but the Rockets go from in the vicinity of 18-1 to win the championship to around 8-1 is where they sit right now. Of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the now defending champions, are the favorites entering next year, and it's hard to imagine that changing unless, of course, there is some monumental move for either a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers behind them or OKC. But I don't think OKC is shuffling up its roster anytime soon with what they've got going on there right now. Over at the Travelers Championship, meanwhile, as we switch over to golf, Keegan Bradley, the Ryder Cup captain, victorious. you have to continue to feel for Tommy Fleetwood. He has roughly a dozen wins under his belt, none on the PGA Tour, and it seemed like this was going to be the opportunity. He had a 3-stroke lead with only 4 holes to play, and then we see a meltdown from Fleetwood, and the win, as you see there, from Keegan Bradley, who of course is a past PGA Championship winner and now picks up yet another win on the tour. Some baseball notes as well. The Phillies took 2 of 3 from the struggling Mets, who really cannot get out of their own way, and so with that, Philadelphia of course leads the National League East. We will talk more about them. Rafael Devers got his revenge against his old Boston Red Sox, homered against them over the weekend, and 9-5 winners yesterday. The Giants against Boston, led by Elliot Ramos, drove in 4 runs for San Francisco. So not a great trip out west for Boston, who somehow, some way, is still in the thick of a wild card spot in the American League, but struggling to hang on, obviously, with respect to the AL East, still sitting 5-6 games behind the New York Yankees, who they rallied 4-2 winners against the Orioles yesterday. Jazz Chisholm with a big hit there in the 8th inning to help lead a comeback for, again, that 4-2 victory to take 2 of 3 out of the O's. So we will talk a lot more baseball, look ahead to what we have in front of us here on this Monday night. Brand new week, obviously, and to help us out when we come back, Tom Vecchio, SportsGrid host and analyst, is going to join us on the other side, get some reflections on the weekend, look ahead to tonight. Stay with us here on NewsWire.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is NewsWire. Welcome back. We have our first guest of the program, first of many, but looking forward to getting into some baseball here with SportsGrid's own Tom Vecchio, host and analyst here on the network. You can find him on Twitter at Tom_Vecchio and the number 1. Tom, how's it going, bud? How'd the weekend treat you?
Weekend was pretty good. Thanks for having me. We saw a ton of home runs. There was 128 home runs over the weekend, which is great to see if you love betting player props. Obviously, that translates to home run props. It translates to total bases, RBIs, whatever it might be. But it has been extremely hot across the majority of the country for the past couple of days. It will be for the next few days. And warm weather is just such a good thing if you like betting overs. Not to say that we're going to see every over hit, as we didn't see it hit yesterday in St. Louis when they were hosting the Reds, which I was a little bit surprised by. But on average, it will be a great hitting spot for basically every team out there, unless they're in a dome.
Yesterday, Tom, we saw the Giants beat the Red Sox once again, this time at 9-5. So Rafael Devers, who homered earlier in the series, kind of gets a last laugh against his old team. Meanwhile, Elliot Ramos was awesome, drove in 4 runs. These are still 2 teams, though. San Francisco, obviously more so than Boston, but 2 teams that very much hope to be alive and active come the postseason in a matter of months. So what'd you take out of this series? And, really, how do you look at this Boston team that, again, is sitting a handful of games out of first in the American League East, but right there in the thick of a wild card chase?
So for Boston, there's a lot going on. Obviously, with the trade with Devers, they sent Christian Campbell down to AAA. They just gave him a big contract prior to the season. He starts off great. He's been super slow as of late. That's why they sent him down. I said this to Craig last week, right after the Devers trade. To me, I think the most value from Boston will become on a day-to-day basis. Like I have no interest in them long-term, just to be clear. But you give me a Duran, Story, Bregman once he comes back. Those are the guys that really need to step up and provide a whole lot of offensive production with Devers now out of the lineup. Now you'd like to see Anthony and Mayer, them step up as well. They're considering they have a large role to fill, and they have a lot of opportunity now, especially higher in the lineup. So I think a short-term approach with Boston could provide the most betting value. Long-term, I don't see them making the playoffs. I just really don't. The pitching just isn't there. And, making your lineup weaker overall is never a good thing.
As we know, top 3 teams in the American League in terms of the wild card standings will reach the playoffs. As of right now, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Seattle, and you have Cleveland tied with Seattle, and then it's Boston a half game out. So there are teams to leapfrog. Even still, when, like you said, a Red Sox team that is poised to get healthier, still obviously has the bats, some of the frontline pitching in terms of that starting staff, to be able to get them at damn near plus 200 to just make the playoffs feels like a pretty good buy-in spot, don't you think?
I don't. I would say that the Mariners have much better pitching compared to them. I'd be much more interested in theoretically backing the Guardians if and when Shane Bieber does come back, giving some nice bolster to their rotation there. I just think that there's too many steps in front of them that they would need to jump over. It would require other teams either not doing anything at the deadline, dropping off a cliff in terms of production, or dealing with a ton of injuries. Then we could talk about getting the Red Sox. But if you gave me a 3 to 5 type of number on them, 3.5, 5 to 1, then I would be interested. I don't think 2 to 1. I think it's just too short at this point.
Phillies, meanwhile, spanked the Mets yesterday, and these are very much 2 teams that are going in opposite directions, Tom. You have Philly that has won 8 of 10. New York has lost 8 of 10. And right now, the Phillies, just a 1-game lead on the Mets in that National League East. Is it time to worry, though, if you're a Mets fan? Because, again, we're still technically, albeit not much left, but we're still in the first half of the season.
I would say no. Losing whatever it is, 6 games in a row, 7 games in a row, I forget what it is at this point, getting back to the Braves series, that is bad. But there are signs of optimism for the Mets with Frankie Montas. I believe he's expected back this week. Sean Manaea is expected back, soon after that. Senga won't be back for a while, but when that's all said and done, we know what Steve Cohen likes to do. That's be aggressive. So if Manaea and Montas come back and they aren't great, and then Senga, maybe let's say he gets delayed in his recovery process with the hamstring from last week. Once the deadline rolls around, we know that Steve Cohen will go all chips to the middle. So I don't think there's a cause for optimism. They still have great hitters. I know they sent down Alvarez yesterday to AAA, but there's a team that's been shown they are willing to make moves. So if they aren't fully healthy, they will go out and get a pitcher. If that pitcher is great and they have some decent stuff from the pitchers that should be returning, they're still in a great spot.
It's an interesting division in general because we talk about, those 2 teams, but then after that, the Atlanta Braves, who I know are nowhere near first, obviously, in that division, but could get hot conceivably and get to a wild card position. That's a team that's won 7 of 10. Washington, as we know, woefully unreliable, have dropped 8 of 10. Then you have the Marlins. I only bring them up not because they're slightly above 500 over their last dozen or so games, but because this is a team that just took 2 out of 3 against Atlanta. So it's just, you mentioned going day to day. With some of these teams, is this team or this division just day to day? Anything's kind of possible here.
It really is. You want to say, like, at a certain point, like, this division is going to cannibalize itself, where, the Nats started off the season, they were playing pretty good. Over the last week and a half, they've been pretty terrible. They lost 10 in a row, 1.11 in a row. But I think water will find the level for them. And if them and the Marlins will be decent enough, they're going to provide some trouble to those top teams. Like, look, we're not going to see the Mets go 6-0 in their next 6 games against the Marlins. Like, they may go 4-2 or 3-3, and that just provides so much craziness when it comes to the top of the division of constantly juggling back and forth between the Phillies. So I think this division is sneaky tough. Like, people coming into the season with, the Marlins, the Nats, it's not going to be an issue. Like, these teams are playing much better. I would say until the deadline, if the Marlins make moves and trade away Kyle Stowers, that could be an impact to their lineup. But right now, it's willing to buy into some of these teams.
It's a lighter slate tonight, just 9 games, but that features the Braves against the Mets. And so obviously an important game, especially for New York, who are underdogs because Blackburn is on the mound for this home game against Schwellenbach on the other side. Braves right around minus 135, depending on where you look around. Would you back Atlanta or do you like New York at home?
I would back New York if I had to choose, but I do like the over 8.5. I'm expecting some runs. Again, it is insanely hot in New York. They're going to have plenty of great hitting weather. I also like the over for the Rangers and the Orioles. They're going to be pushing 100 degrees there. Not a whole lot of wind, but 2 bad pitchers between Patrick Corbin and Trevor Rogers on the mound. We're going to see a lot of runs today.
All right, so Tom says just forget sides for now. Just runs in this 100-degree heat that is coming here in the Northeast. Back overs. Tom Vecchio, again, a host and analyst here on SportsGrid. Get him on Twitter, Tom_Vecchio and the number 1. Tom, thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. The party goes on as we bring in another Adam. One is just not enough. Adam Caplan joins us here. He is a regular on the program and across SportsGrid. Goes on often with our buddy Scott Farrell, who comes on later on today. So make sure you check out his program. But Adam, of course, of Sirius XM and elsewhere. Adam, how are you?
Good to talk to you. Yeah, it's been a while, man. We're relatively close to training camps opening in about 4 weeks, and we're in that time where the all-season programs have just about completed. A lot of teams just finished their offseason last week. So we're in that in-between time, but man, signings are still going on, contracts are going on, and we actually have had a couple trades in the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Well, one thing of note, you bring up signings and moves. Obviously, Jair Alexander helping to beef up the defense there on the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team that, as we know, it's just we enter every year and it's like, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore. So, what does this do here in terms of, again, beefing up that Ravens defense and just adding to an already pretty good core in that secondary?
Yeah, so Adam, here was the issue, though, when you talk about their secondary. The word around the league was going into March and free agency was that they knew they didn't have quality depth at corner. They needed help at safety, and they were going to be fairly aggressive, whether it's at a draft or free agency. So in the draft, Malachi Starks, a safety out of Georgia, first-round pick. They addressed their pass rush depth and explosiveness with Mike Green out of Marshall. They needed depth at corner. They signed Chidobe Awuzie, who was a longtime starter for Dallas, if you might remember earlier in his career, but he's been hurt a lot. He's seen now at 30 years old as a backup corner, so they need depth there. But they were still looking for a starting corner with upside, okay? You've got Marlon Humphrey, who's terrific. But, Adam, when they go to their nickel package, right, Humphrey will go inside, and they needed another corner on the outside because they've got Nate Wiggins, who had a good rookie season out of Clemson last year, a first-rounder. So they signed Jair Alexander to a one-year deal. Now, if you recall, he refused a pay cut with the Packers. The Packers want to significantly lower his $17.5 million in total that was due, that was not guaranteed. So they cut him after not being able to reach an agreement. And Alexander, I give him credit. Look, he could have gone elsewhere. He took a low-end deal to a one-year deal. He's only 28 years old, folks. He turns 29 early next year, but he's not as old as you think. But Adam, over the last 4 seasons, he's missed 34 games. So instead of waiting until the start of training camps, he took a deal now. He gets reunited with Lamar Jackson. They both played at Louisville. But this potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price. And if this guy stays healthy, this is a huge signing.
Well, it's one of those low risk, high reward type situations that I feel like we, with any team that's really good, and obviously Baltimore's a really good team, and any time like this is not the perfect example, but it's just one that immediately comes to mind. Like Le'Veon Bell joining Kansas City when he did, right? It's like, well, let's see what this is if it works out. So many times that the Patriots under Bill Belichick, added like, well, all right, they're going out, they're bringing in Darrelle Revis. Let's see if this works out. Randy Moss, they're going to take a flyer. Let's see. And so, teams can do this type of thing when guys are willing to take less to go to a situation where they have the ability to win. That's kind of the crux of it. And this Baltimore team, as you well know, we look at the FanDuel odds, and this stuff, it ebbs and flows, especially as we sit here in late June and, the inevitable training camp and preseason injuries that are still going to happen that throw some of these things off. Hopefully nothing significant, but there always is. Baltimore and Buffalo are co-favorites to win the Super Bowl at 7-1. Then you have Kansas City and Philadelphia, the two teams that just matched up, of course, at plus 750 apiece. Do you think highly enough of Baltimore to have them at the top of the list like that?
They're going to be right up there. Now, to win the division, they're minus 145, the AFC North. I love that one. I know Cincinnati, look, their defense, Adam, couldn't be any worse than last season. And they've got Al Golden, who will now run their defense. But they're going to win that division, the AFC North. I don't see that being a problem. Now, getting to the Super Bowl, look, they've shored up their defense. They got Rashad Bateman's contract taken care of. They're loaded, but something happens with Lamar Jackson, who's one of the best regular season quarterbacks in NFL history, just not as good in the playoffs. They've got to be more dynamic on offense. They got to be a little bit more aggressive. And they kept Mark Andrews. They love Isaiah Likely. They may address his contract before training camp starts, but they're absolutely loaded. Listen, here's the deal, Adam. They're going to make a run. The question is, can Lamar put it together all the way through the playoffs? That, to me, is the only question with this football team.
Somewhere out there, Aaron Rodgers is going, come on, guys, what about me? I just got to Pittsburgh. 5-1 to win that division, by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Adam Caplan, again, SiriusXM Radio, and of course, a regular here on SportsGrid. Get him on Twitter at Caplan NFL. Adam, always enjoyed the time, not nearly long enough. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, man. See ya.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside.
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, here on NewsWire. And obviously, we've been talking a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, lots more basketball to come. But as we always like to work in, our friends from Legal Sports Report, we bring in Pat Evans here to help us all get a little bit smarter, if we're being honest with ourselves. Pat, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing well. And let's start a little closer to my neck of the woods than yours, you being in Michigan and me being here in New England. Let's talk about what's going on in Maine with online casino. And, of course, a bill that, you know, is making strides, as you've written about, but also there are a lot of different things that could kind of torpedo this along the way. So what's the latest?
Yeah, so Maine's an interesting market when it comes to gambling and online casinos specifically. It's been talked about. It got shot down fully last year by both chambers. This year, the House started up the discussions, and of course, it would legalize online casino operators to partner with the 4 tribal nations up in Maine. Sports betting went live in 2023, and 3 of those tribes partnered with Caesars, and another partnered with DraftKings. So it's not a very vibrant, a small population in the first place, but not a super vibrant full market in terms of operators. But the House introduced this bill earlier this session to legalize online casino through those tribes. It was tabled, so it kind of felt like nothing was going to happen. But eventually it just kind of got picked up, passed the House. The Senate kind of punted it a little bit, finally said, all right, let's get it, and pass it, and let's see what happens. Now, Janet Mills, the governor, is kind of a roadblock. She's kind of not super friendly to gambling issues. She let the sports betting bill pass a few years ago for different sovereignty reasons for those tribes, not because she's a fan of gambling. So her veto is the big looming thing and that everybody's pointing to. But there's another small step. That's not really a small step. Anything that has a fiscal note and contributes to the state's pockets goes to this thing called the appropriations table, where it's a small committee of members from both chambers who get to say yes or no or make some amendments. And weirdly enough, only 10% of the bills that go to the appropriations table get off the appropriations table. So really, we're at a small chance that this is going to get through. But passing both chambers is a big step, and for a year that we've seen very little movement by any online casino legislation, this is still a pretty significant step. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on this appropriations table, and if it gets off there, to see what Governor Mills does. But again, huge step for online casino this year in a otherwise pretty lackluster legislative session.
Well, we see obviously it's happening much slower when it comes to online casino gaming in terms of the legalization across the country, significantly slower than that of sports books. But, in California, obviously it's a situation where we don't have either one at the moment. And so when it comes to California and the I don't know, I just the growth opportunity to potentially open up some doors for other states that are a little more hesitant, that are kind of sitting back and saying, a little follow the leader, we'll do what you do, given that you are obviously, such an enormous state. When it comes to online casino in particular, and the tribal gaming coalition, all things involved there, when it comes to California, what do you suppose next steps are?
Yeah, so California, of course, is just a humongous market when it comes to any U.S. state. Everybody wants in, and there's this major roadblock in the tribes. The tribes there control everything. They have exclusivity in the Constitution for gambling, and this is where you're finding some loophole operators. First, a couple of years ago, DFS 2.0, or where you get to basically use your parlay bets in the underdogs and the prize picks. New York Senator Joseph Addabbo has recently said, these sweepstakes operators, and we'll get to New York in a second, have found loopholes around they're called gray market gaming, that you get to kind of figure your way out around all the gaming regulations and still get to offer basically casino gaming. And these sweepstakes operators have been seeing a wave of action. More than 16 states have sent cease and desist letters because they found them awry of the gambling laws. And in California, now we've seen a bill introduced to prohibit these sweepstakes operators, which of course are dual currency. So, you've seen the ads around, including with Ryan Seacrest and Paris Hilton, that you can play them for free with free coins, or you can eventually buy these coins and then use those game coins to bet on sports or casino gaming, and then you can exchange that for real money. And that's the loopholes that they use to get around. This bill would ban them and various payment processors, financial institutions, geolocation services, and the like from working with these sweepstakes operators and carry penalties and whatnot. The tribes in California are behind this. They've long been vocal against these sweepstakes operators and their way in. And so we'll see what happens in the legislature, but it seems like it will get plenty of discussion because of the tribal backing and kind of the way California is a major market. And you're even seeing last year, we saw the Sports Betting Alliance and the tribes come kind of together and call for action against these sweepstakes operators. And if you know anything about California gaming, those two parties don't get along. They went at it hardcore a couple of years ago in an election that saw online sports betting get voted against at the poll hugely because of the funding from the tribes. So a very interesting market, to your point, and it potentially could set framework for states like Texas and Florida. Florida being a tribal sovereignty, tribal exclusive state, and Texas just having nothing like California to kind of take that. And if you include those two states and New York, that's more than 50% of the population. And so the sweepstakes operators would dearly miss those as revenue opportunities.
Well, and you mentioned New York, not obviously one of the biggest states, but one of the most significant in this conversation. And when it's New York, and you can bring in Louisiana, Mississippi, some of these other states that are regularly now sending out these like cease and desist letters and banning the online gaming and just all that is involved in it, sort of muddling up and slowing down the process. What is next here for some of these? I don't know if swing states would be the right term, but some of these states that can certainly change the conversation substantially.
Yeah, New York, of course, is nothing to sneeze at with New York City, and that's a massive market for sports betting operators, which are now legal, of course. But yeah, again, entering this legislative session, Senator Joseph Addabbo was very adamant about let's figure something out about these sweepstakes operators. And at the same time, he also introduced online casino language to legalize, legitimate online casinos. Now, the online casino language, as we mentioned in Maine, has been slow. That hasn't gotten any legs in New York, but this sweepstakes operator prohibition bill did gain lots of legs, passed both the Senate and the General Assembly, and now we're waiting the governor's signature. And that just was the beginning of a bad week, capped by the California legislation that also included those cease and desist letters from the Louisiana Gaming Control Board, which that was 40 of them. And it wasn't just to sweepstakes operators. It was to offshore sports books like Bovada and BetUS and things like that. And then another 10 from Mississippi. And then, yeah, that's, again, just adding to the 16 or more states that have sent cease and desist letters to these offshore essentially illegal operators saying, you know what, this is something we don't want. And it's interesting because New York is now the 5th state to see a legislator pass this prohibition of it. Louisiana was one of those 5. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed it, saying that Louisiana Gaming Control Board has the power to enforce gaming as it is. And that's when you saw those 40 cease and desist letters come out. So yeah, this is an interesting market. You're seeing lots of headwinds against even regulated gaming. So the tightening of these unregulated gaming operators is not really a surprise.
So needless to say, none of this will be resolved at all quickly.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, obviously. Make sure you check Pat out on Legal Sports Report. Pat is on Twitter, by the way, at Pat Evans. And, just continuing to unpack the legal complexities of all of this, whether it's the online gaming casino sweepstakes with obviously all that goes into DFS and sports betting and everything that these kind folks from Legal Sports Report are kind enough to join us on a regular basis to discuss. So, Pat, thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling
Finally.
Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we get back to the sports side of things, right? We come on back with Coach James Young, Coach Young NJ on Twitter to help us dissect some of what we just saw and also what is to come across the National Basketball Association. Coach, how are you?
Good, Adam. Great to be on with you. Great game. I would say great game 7, obviously, except for the news of Tyrese Halliburton getting hurt last night.
Yeah, great series. I don't know how great Game 7 was. Great first half of Game 7, and then obviously, OKC did what it was supposed to do really kind of from the start. Coach's going to be on the grid here a lot this week, as he normally is, but really a lot this week with the NBA draft just a couple of days away and getting you ready and trying to help you make some money in terms of who goes where after Cooper Flag, obviously. And as the week rolls along, I'm sure we'll get into more of that here on NewsWire. But, Coach, right now, this is the aftermath of Oklahoma City, the heavy, heavy, heavy favorite to win not only Game 7, but, of course, the series going in. Indiana defied logic. Pacers forced that thing to 7 games, was a very live dog, a realistic dog, to come out and potentially win it and do something that would have been maybe the most improbable championship in NBA history. But instead, of course, we see the Thunder get the job done. We'll get back to Halliburton. When it comes to OKC, is this the start of a dynasty, given the core, the youth, the assets, or is today's parity in the NBA and, of course, the second apron eventually going to get in their way?
Well, I mean, they're $16-17 million from the apron, and they're something $7 or $8 million away from the salary cap. They have team options on a bunch of their guys, including Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, who obviously you're going to get probably extended. So the great thing about this, Adam, is this is a relatively young team, a team that I would dare say, at least listening to SGA, Jalen Williams after the game, I found him to be very humble. Borderline more mature than I thought they were going to be. But looking at the start of this dynasty, possibly according to Kevin O'Connor, who pulls this up, every guy under contract, they have a bunch of firsts coming up. The core is young, so now, and they have depth. So now what Sam Presti can do is he's got those trove of draft picks. I think 19 picks coming up over the next 7 or 8 years, a bunch of seconds and a bunch of firsts. He can do a couple of things. He could use those to get ready-made guys to extend their rotation. He could use those to take on guys that may not be ready, but that could be projects or could project to be really good players. He could use them on European players to stash them and just get them when he needs them. Or he could turn around and use them as draft capital or as capital to go get something else. Either way, Adam, with the youth of that team and all those guys back for next year, you got to think it's in a loaded West still. It is probably the start of a dynasty, possibly in Oklahoma City.
Marcus Thompson wrote an article for The Athletic, and the sort of grab you quote from that article after the championship is that he said it was the most tempered celebration he had ever seen in any sport for a champion after he said they didn't even spray champagne around the locker room. It was just very sort of ho-hum, and like they'd done it, a million times before, as opposed to being a team that averages essentially 25 years of age, to go out and not go crazy. But, Mark Daignault has told us all along how different this group is, and you use the word humble, and clearly that's the case. Now, there will be some threats in the Western Conference going forward. We'll get to that with Kevin Durant moving to Houston. But first, staying in the East for a moment, you mentioned Tyrese Halliburton. This is the third significant Achilles injury this postseason. Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and of course Halliburton now. Like, we don't know which, if any, of these three we're even going to see on the floor next year. So, what does that make this conference look like now?
It makes it look wide open. And the weird thing, I think the craziest thing is I heard, Adam, is all three of those guys were the number 0 between Lillard and Tatum and Halliburton.
Yeah,
so
great point.
It's just a freaky thing. Folks, you got to wonder now if there is a correlation between calf strains and Achilles tears. Because all three of them, Tatum, Lillard, Halliburton, even if you look at football locally, Brett Favre had a calf injury in training camp right before he tore his Achilles. There's also the talk of, do you wear high tops? If it goes to these guys all wearing low tops. But back to the matter at hand in the East is completely wide open. That could be the reason why a team like Orlando swung for Desmond Bane, even though I think they gave up way too much in regards to draft capital to go get someone like Desmond Bane. To me, it's going to look pretty interesting moving forward what we have in the East because, Boston still has Tatum. We got to see what they do with Holiday and White and Porzingis. they're up against some stuff where they may have to move some assets. Knicks make a move. What happened to Philadelphia? Detroit, do they take that next step? Cleveland, do they just retool or they just reload? To me, it's going to be pretty interesting, Adam, as far as there's a clear pecking order, 1, 2 in the West. I don't know how you slot these teams, honestly, 1 through 6 in the East going into next year.
Over the Western Conference, Kevin Durant, the big story of the day yesterday, at least before that Game 7. So, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks sent out, along with the number 10 pick this year, 5 future second rounders. They go to Phoenix as they work through their rebuild. And now to their Brooklyn days for Kevin Durant, and a potential starting 5 for the Rockets that includes Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., of course, and Alperen Şengün. I feel like there's a lot of justifiable excitement around this for the Houston Rockets, but at the same time, not totally acknowledging that Durant is 37 years old.
Well, I think it's a combination of them trying to win now and win later, right? Durant, 37. I disagree with the starting lineup. I think Durant plays with Amen Thompson and very good in the front court. Backcourt, Fred VanVleet, either Reed Shepherd or Cam Whitmore. You bring the other off the bench with Jabari Smith and a sneaky good move, bringing back Steven Adams with a 3-year, $39 million deal. This team is lined up, and obviously the relationship that KD had with Ime Udoka when they were in Brooklyn was kind of lining this up. A good job by Houston, not giving up Jabari Smith and not giving up a ton of draft capital. To me, that makes a good trade for them.
We here at SportsGrid are going to keep Coach very, very busy this week, getting you ready for the NBA draft and mixing in plenty of thoughts about the WNBA as well. Get Coach on Twitter, Coach Young NJ. He is our lead basketball analyst in SportsGrid. Coach, thank you so much.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you on NewsWire for a few more minutes. It is time for our last licks. Well, as we know, bad news for Tyrese Halliburton during that Game 7 yesterday. After a hot start for the Pacers against Oklahoma City, he winds up going out with an injury that will cost him who knows how much time. You have to wonder, these Achilles injuries for NBA players, and given the history around them, will we even see him on the floor next year? So this could be a tough situation for the Indiana Pacers going forward, and for Halliburton as well. After, as we heard Rick Carlisle earlier on the show, he ushered in one of the single best individual postseasons that we have seen, maybe in NBA history, definitely in recent history across the association. But Halliburton, not all bad news if you bet on him, because DraftKings, one of multiple sports books to offer refunds if you did invest in Tyrese Halliburton. Markets of any kind, anytime prop markets there for Tyrese Halliburton that were undetermined before he left the game. So that includes whether it was single plays, straight plays, parlay wagers, you name it. Only where he was a losing selection, you were refunded. And so good news there, obviously, if you were looking at unders for Tyrese Halliburton in that game. Staying with the NBA, Bobby Marks, who is an insider over at ESPN, noted that coming up on Monday, today, as a matter of fact, starting today, teams are allowed to negotiate with their own free agents and players that are on rookie or veteran extension eligible as of July 6th, which, of course, as we know, is just a couple of weeks away. The draft is Wednesday and Thursday. Round 1 Wednesday, round 2 on Thursday. Used to all be in one night. Now they're really making a literal broadcast of the event. But the offseason, it is here, folks. Free agency is right around the corner. Trades are going to be made. Maybe none as significant as that of Kevin Durant. But in saying that, maybe there will be, right? There are a lot of people out there wondering, is Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be on the move? You know, could he be leaving Milwaukee? Does he stay in the East? Does he go to the West? Does he, team up with Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio? What would that do to the Western Conference betting odds? That would probably, vault San Antonio up ahead of Houston, or definitely still in their company. Neither one at the price that you can get Oklahoma City to defend their championship. But very interesting times in the NBA, and as much fun as the season always is across the entire NBA landscape, there's just something about the offseason and the fact that it never stops that makes it so incredibly compelling, the drama that surrounds the NBA. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We will continue to update you here on NewsWire in the days and weeks to come as any moves are made. Want to mention something too, as the college baseball season is now behind us. Congrats to LSU on winning its championship in a 2-game sweep in that best of 3 against Coastal Carolina, but not without some drama. Matter of fact, after the 1-0 win for LSU in game 1, very early on, like first inning, Coastal Carolina in a scoreless game had its manager, Kevin Schnall, tossed out of that game for arguing balls and strikes. And if you watch the video, if you go back and spend some time on Twitter and surf around and watch the few minute segments of time and the way everything unfolded, pretty bush league ejection on the part of the umpire and entire officiating staff there for that game. Schnall, he just in a cagey way just sort of steps out of the dugout, holds up 3 fingers as if to say, and did literally say, if you're reading his lips there, you missed 3 pitches. There was no language. It was not egregious, not offensive, not pushy, not drawing attention to himself too much. Just wanted to make the point. You missed 3 pitches, and they tossed him. Home plate umpire tossed him right away, and he comes out to argue it, and then gets suspended 2 games for bumping, they said, because the first base comes down the line, tries to hold him back, ends up tripping over his own feet or that of the home plate ump. Either way, he wasn't bumped by Schnall and ends up hitting the deck there. And just a poor finish to what was an unbelievable tournament there for the College World Series in Omaha and prior with the Super Regionals, the Regionals, you name it. Unfortunate way for that to come to an end. And Schnall, I wouldn't quite say that he lived by the credo of owning it there at the end that they have there at Coastal, but understandably unhappy, hoping to get his team not only a win, but at least to a third and decisive rubber match, right? That game. But we want to thank everyone who was part of this show. Coach James Young, Tom Vecchio, Pat Evans, Adam Caplan, of course, Frank, Luke behind the scenes, making it all possible. Again, I am Adam Kaufman, in for Craig here today and all weeks. Join us here on NewsWire. Lots more coming up on the grid. Go nowhere.